to make sure that the cable that's sitting there does not rub or touch against. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. Make sure that it moves up and that the trim tab is in position. Again, looking underneath, making sure that the cable is not going to rub on anything and that it's not rusted or frayed. Come around the front side of the wing. Check the leading edge again for bumps, cracks, breaks, anything like that. Don't see anything, we're good to go. You're going to do the same thing on the other wing. Check the back side, come around the front, make sure that the light is on, check the leading edge to make sure that there's no damage. Again, the front support, the front cross support, make sure that the airway is clear, come underneath the wing, check the right side aileron, make sure it moves down and up nice and freely. Put the counterweights there, and then all the bolts and nuts and screws and everything that are required are there. Same thing with the aileron, push it up, make sure it moves, check the rolling tracks, come underneath, as well as make sure that's got some play. Check the fuselage, make sure there's no big dents, major cracks, anything like that. Again, look at the landing gear, make sure that the tires got tread, that there's adequate brakes, and there's no hydraulic fluid leaking. Come around to the front of the plane, check the other air intake. Later on, we're going to check oil, which is inside there. Come around to the front of the plane. You want to check the prop. You want to move the prop out of the way. You want to run your finger along the edge, leading edge of the blade on both sides. Check, feel for cracks, anything like that. Make sure it is in working order. You want to do that on both sides of the propeller. Then you want to check your spinner to make sure that all the nuts and screws and bolts and everything are in there, nothing's missing. Looking inside the engine, you want to check to make sure that nothing's nesting in there, no birds have decided to call it home, as well as make sure that the alternator belt is nice and tight. Checking the other side, same thing, you want to make sure nobody's nesting in there, and it looks all good. Next, you want to come underneath the plane, check to make sure the light and the air intake valve are nice. Make sure that the tailpipe is nice and solid. Give it a kick with the foot just in case it's hot. And then check the front tire for tread and to make sure that the oleo, the suspension system on a plane, has at least 4 inches of clearance. And again, we check the front of the plane to make sure that there's no debris or anything like that on it. And once all that's done, we check the fuel. We use that little cup and the stick there to strain some fuel from these little ports underneath the wing and underneath the engine to make sure that the fuel is blue, there's no water or silt or anything in it, and then check the fuel level. Once all that's done, we come back inside the cockpit, turn the main power back on, we will lift up the flaps, once the flaps are all the way up, we will turn off the main power, grab the control column, and stick the control column back inside. Grab the pitot cover, bring it outside, cover it up so that nothing gets inside, flaps there in the wind, and then this is what the inside of my cockpit that I'm flying today looks like. The back seat, kind of squishy, and that's that. That is how a walk around is performed pre-flight each time I get to my flight school at Coastal Pacific.